I'm Julie Alexandria.
And I'm Jennifer Mercedes.
Between the two of us, we have over 2 decades of experience working in professional sports.
We're telling the stories of women who are at the top of their game in sports and business.
Welcome
to the locker room.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Mercedes, along with Julie Alexandria. This is Locker Room Talk. Our guest today is Mariana Patraca, who's done it all. The right-handed pitcher born and raised in Mexico City, was a member of the Mexican national softball team for 12 years and is currently the Latin America baseball operations coordinator for the Arizona Diamondbacks, as well as the Dominican Republic's Olympic team. Welcome, Mariana.
Thank you.
Really, thank you for joining us. And we're going to get it started with some rapid-fire questions to break the ice a little bit. So I'll start it off. Baseball or softball?
That's a tricky one, but I'll say baseball.
If you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be?
In My Life by the Beatles.
Dinner with anyone dead or alive?
Dead, and my grandmother. Yeah.
Tacos or mango?
Tacos all the way, 100%. Yeah.
I thought you might have gotten used to some of the mango, you know.
I mean, I love it. I like mango, but tacos are tacos, you know.
Any superstitions?
When I used to play, I had a lot. Right now, not really.
What were some of those superstitions when you used to play?
I mean, I was a pitcher, so every time the inning started, I used to write something that it's a secret nobody knows yet down, you know, next to the pitching play, in the pitching section. And you know that I had to do that every single inning. If once I forgot or whatever, I proved that the other team hit. So.
Now, let's get into this conversation on Locker Room Talk. And as we've been having these conversations on the show, one of the things that I've noticed about all of the women is that all of you have had the same spirit, that same determination, the fighting spirit. If you couldn't get into the industry one way, you make it happen and you find your own way. And that's how you got started with the Giants organization. Can you share with us that journey and that start?
Yeah, well, actually, before the Giants, I worked with MLB, with the youth academy that they have in California. So back then, I was grad assistant at Long Beach State. I was grad assistant softball coach, and I was trying to transition from my softball career to baseball. So I was doing a softball field coordinator for the academy. But then since I'm Mexican, I don't have a residency, American or residency or passport or nothing. I knew that when I was going to graduate, my visa was going to be over, right? My student visa with working permit. So that's how I started exploring, like how can I work for a team and in the future they can bring me with a working visa. So that's how I started with the Giants. For my master's degree, I did a research of how the Latin players, the struggles they face in and on the field, going through minor leagues, not just playing the game, but playing the human being role, like homesickness, economic issues, social, psychological issues. So I present that to a bunch of teams, and the Giants hired me. So I moved to the DR. That was my plan. I was like, if I want to help these guys, I need to go where they start, playing and growing up. So I moved to DR. I sold everything in California in 2 weeks, my car, my bed, like everything. And I just moved to the DR. I didn't know anyone. I went to Boca Chica and just, with no car or nothing, I started riding motoconchos, the motorcycles. And yeah, that's how I started with the Giants, and my idea was that, like, okay, how can I make a team trust me? And, how can I start from zero, and maybe in the future, I will have that chance for getting, my visa and come back to the States and still working for a team. So that's my story right there.
As a pitcher, so much of it is mental. So how much did your playing career prepare you for where you are now?
Okay, yeah, totally. Right now in the position I have with the Diamondbacks, sometimes I'm sitting down with the coaches, with the scouts, and I totally get, since I was an athlete, I mean, softball and baseball are totally similar. So I have a lot of empathy, and I have really good connection with the coaches and with the kids, with the players, because maybe in a different level, but I went through, a bunch of stuff that they are going on, and not just in the field, but in and on the field. So I think, like 100% my life as an athlete and my time playing softball helped me huge time. And, right now it's everything merged together, and I think it's a plus that I have.
It's definitely a plus, and I think a lot of what you talked about as far as the plan that you implemented with the Giants, talking about the homesickness and that human aspect of the game. It's something that isn't talked about as much. We're talking about it more and more now as time has gone by, but the fact that you were able to, to bring this on is so important. And that my hope is that this is something that had continued even after you left the organization. But now, when you see little girls who want to play the sport, do you encourage them? How valuable is it to play sports? And how do you do it? How do you encourage them?
Yeah, I mean, I still, love playing. I'm not playing anymore because in the DR, there's not like a league, but I'm dying to play. Like, I'm here with the Dominican team, and I shack sometimes. And, if I can help the coaches just playing catch or whatever to warm up, like, I'm still, on it. So it's the same. When I see a little girl with a glove, with a bat, like, I see myself like 15 or 20 years ago. And, back then I would love someone to come and motivate me and encourage me. So in the DR, for example, sometimes I go to remote places, giving clinics, talking to the girls. And, my story, it's a long story, but, like it's totally worth it, all the sacrifices. And sometimes people might think you are crazy, taking some decisions. But at the end of the day, just follow your dreams, your passions. And it's really good to have, right now, to tell the girls that, I'm an example that everything is possible. So
yeah, I agree with you 100%. Absolutely, everything is possible. Why do you think that it is important for girls and women to have those same and equal opportunities that the men have, and also the same resources to continue and to thrive and have success in sports, maybe on the field, but also in front offices or in management roles or in coaching roles?
Yeah, I think, as you can tell, like since last year, it's opening, more and more. We have Kim In as the GM, which, like, I respect her so much. Rachel or Alisa, as a coaches. So I think, I'm pro girl and lady, power. But at the end of the day, I'm also pro whoever has the capacity, even if it's a man or a woman, like at the end of the day, if you have the capacity, if you're, I always say, like, let's your work talk for you, right? Like for yourself. Like if you do well, if you are professional, and if you have a good, like a performance, and you bring the results, like at the end of the day, I don't think it matters if you are a woman or girl. Woman or man. But for example, here at the Mets complex that we played last week, I was super excited because I have the women's locker room, which I think is the first time, like it's. So I was like, wow, like you can tell and you can see that we are growing, we are improving, and everyone is accepting, more women in baseball. So.
That's interesting. I hadn't even heard that, and that's awesome. And kudos to the Mets organization for having that, a women's locker room at the ballpark. And that's just showing that they know that there are many more women to come, because if it was just one, they wouldn't have done that. So they know that there are many more to come that are coming down the pipeline. Now, family for us as Latinos is so important, and it's an important aspect. It's not easy for parents to let go, especially to let go of their young girls and their young women when you're growing up and playing this sport. Can you tell me what that dynamic was like early on in your career when you had to go and travel? What was that like for your parents?
Yeah, my mom is my biggest fan, my biggest support. When I used to play, she was my trainer, my agent, my mom, my psychologist, everything. So from that, like, actually, I think her, her support was the fact that motivates me to keep growing. And, the first time I got a scholarship to play softball in Miami, she was the first one. Go, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm homesick and I'm like, oh, what I'm doing here? I want to go back home. I see my my nieces or my nephews growing, and my mom is getting older, and my family, my friends are getting married, and I've lost, I haven't been in important, like celebrations or stuff like that. But every time I call my mom when I feel homesick, she's the first, like, no, follow your dream. That's what you want. Like, I can go visit you. You can come, whatever, whenever you have a break. But that's, I think that's the biggest, the family support that I have is the biggest, like a privilege, right?
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because a lot of the players also have talked about how their moms have played such a key role in their careers early on, like being, like you said, their pitcher, their manager, their number one cheerleader, and sometimes that's what you need the most. So I think, the relatability that you have to the players is so important.
Yeah. Like, for example, in the complex, in the academy in DR, like, I deal with 16, 17-year-old guys that they look at me like I'm their mom, right? Because I'm with them like 24/7. And I think we are more than a family. They see more like each other and the players than they see their family. So that's another role, as talking again about women in baseball, that, naturally we bring that, like caring, and we bring that other side, and the players like it. Maybe they don't go to a coach and talk, some stuff that they go to you and rely on some other stuff, and it's, for me, it's super important, right? Like a feeling that they trust me and they can count on me. And also with their parents, when we sign a player, I introduce myself, and also the parents, like whenever they, if they want to ask how their guys are doing, their sons are doing, or whatever, they call me. Or if they have any question that they might not go to another person, they come to me. And it's, we're a family. So
what would you say is the biggest challenge that you've faced so far in your career?
Well, yeah. I have a lot, but the biggest one maybe is that I'm not American. So I always say, if I were American, like, I will be maybe somewhere higher, because I had to go back, right? Like, being woman, it's a challenge. Being Latina, it's another challenge. But for me, it's a triple challenge, because I'm not Mexican American. So for me, I think it's even, like, harder. But that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna make it, or that I'm not gonna keep growing. Like, as I told you before, I let my work, speak for me. So yeah, but I think that's one of my biggest challenge, like in my personal development, getting that working visa and doing things right. So
yeah, and it's a challenge that a lot of people face, and a lot of women in the industry. It's also a challenge when you bring up the idea about the visa, right? Because that's the goal for a lot of players, is to be able to come to the States. When they're playing in the Dominican, the goal is to get out of DR and go to high A and all of that, because once you have that visa, it means more economical support for their families back home. And I wonder if you ever had some of those similar thoughts or challenges when we talk about, the family back home, and thinking about how you can improve and better their lives, just like the players in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, thanks God, like, my family in Mexico, it's totally fine. I'm the crazy one who, I could live like fine in Mexico. I grew up in a family, like middle class. We're well. I didn't have, the necessity to go to the DR and, live where I live, like, to do that for my family. Actually, when my mom went and visited me the first time, she was like, you're crazy. How are you living here? And I'm saying, like, I'm thankful for that. But, it's more like my the thing that, as I told you, the visa and stuff, and it's because I want to be there. I want to be in a front office, I want to be with the team. And actually right now I'm just in the DR, but I'm coming, I go back and forth, and I'm part of the front office staff. Like, it doesn't change. And actually I realized that my position is so important, because, the communication, I'm not in Arizona, but, the communication is crucial. And every time, sometimes someone talks about Dominican, they just, call me, or so I realized my position is so important. So I'm not as in the beginning, as desperate as in the beginning that I wanted to move to US. Like right now, I understand my role, but of course I want to keep growing. That's a fact. So.
Who has been a mentor to you so far in your career, and do you consider yourself a mentor to others?
Well, I have a group of friends, mentors, and sisters, baseball sisters, which Lonnie Murray, for example, she's an agent. Carla, that she's the first woman baseball scout in Mexico for the Tampa Bay Rays. Maritza, she's a trainer, physical trainer with the Padres San Diego. Anaima, which she's a Dominican girl who works on, before pre-signing academies. So we have created a sisterhood, and we understand each other. We laugh and we cry with each other. So for me, like being so close with those girls, like it's like an inspiration and motivation. And every time someone accomplishes something, I feel like it's me. So I think surrounding yourself with other women that want you to grow and that support you, for me it's awesome. Like, for example, I met Kim Min like a couple years ago, and I talked to her, and when she made it, like I was happy. I was like, I feel it's me, like. So yeah, I have a lot of in Arizona. I have Nona Lee also. She's the legal counsel, and I admire her a lot. So I don't know. I have a bunch of names.
Awesome. Those relationships are so important because you're all experiencing the same thing. So I love that you have that.
If you could do something to change and better that minor league system and the way that players, particularly players from Latin America, come up and that process, what would be one thing that you could do if you could do it?
I mean, we're working on it. Actually, our education program, I feel super happy because that's huge, that education, but even before the players sign, like life skills, so before the guys sign, like start making them conscious that they need to go to school, they need to study English. It's not just about being baseball player, it's about being human being and about, growing, as I told you, in and off the field. So we're working on it. We have a really good educational program. I know it's not enough. It has to do also with our culture, in all Latin America. That is not just for baseball players, but yeah, I mean, it's just supporting them all the time. Mental skills department are growing, educational program are growing. Even some teams have like player care coaches that are supporting. So it's the psychological support and like personal support is super important, and I think the teams are realizing that, and I think it's something I encourage that we can keep. We need to keep growing and doing.
What are some of the perks that you've had throughout your career doing this job?
I know I have no limits. Like I feel part of the team. Like if I'm playing there, like maybe I'm not pitching or I'm hitting, but like I know every detail counts. For example, if the food is not ready, if the bus transportation is not on time, like those little details are, pre-game or pre-practice or whatever, those little details are, important. So when everyone is happy, when everything is well organized, when players tell you, the other day one of the players told me, if we play as Mariana work, with that passion and that freaking, like the whole day I'm just trying to, I'm perfectionist. I want everything perfect. So he told me, if we play as you work, we will win like every single game, So it's, at the end of the day, the guys are the ones who score the runs or who struck out the other players. But I feel, I'm throwing or I'm hitting because, as I told you, it's as you say, like it's something I enjoy a lot, and this is my dream job, and I'm living every second, every day. So.
That's awesome. I love that. Now, finish this sentence. We'll wrap up with this. Being Latina means?
Being Latina means being a warrior, fighter.
That is definitely everything that you are. everything that you've been able to accomplish thus far. I know that there are so many more doors that are going to continue to open for you, and I know that those doors, you're going to keep them open for the women that come behind you.
Gracias. Thank you.
She said, no, you're going to hang up the phone and you're going to walk into his office and you're going to let him know that you want it. And so I just remembered so clearly I did. And I went into John Wildhack's office and I think I probably just like blurted it out. I want the NFL. But anyhow, it came to be. And that was a real pivotal moment in my career. And also just such a important lesson.